Indiana and beyond. You can also contact me or Jason there at extolmag.com. Yeah, we got a good morning popping in from Mary Dale from New Albany. You are welcome. Happy to provide these updates. Thanks for watching the updates, being part of the weather family here. All right, again, sunny through this weekend, rain chance early next week, cool down late next week. That's the things that we're going to be talking about here. And typically we get to the weather model data at around 10:20 if we're on time and cruising along. 78 at noon, 85 for the afternoon high. It's about 10 degrees above normal. So this guy right here, I took a picture of him. This is, my friends, the invasive brown marmorated stink bug, or the BMSB. Let me try that again. Have you guys seen these around? I mean, I can look anywhere right now and I will see one. They seem a little bit worse this year. I don't know why they flare up some years and some years they don't. Seems like the bugs were crazy earlier this year with the wet weather. The invasive brown marmorated stink bug, BMSB. And what I've learned, this is an Asian species that came here in 2010, and it can do damage to crops and things like that, and they like to come inside your home. Now, the native species don't invade your home like the Asian species does. So I say this because this is, like I posted last night, this is invasion number 1 of the stink bugs. Invasion number 2, especially if you live out in the woods or around the woods or around some fields, is going to be the Asian ladybug. They look like a ladybug, the Asian lady beetle. They are going to swarm once. Typically we get a first frost that wakes them up, and then they're going to be swarming our house, and they will come in the house because they find a way in. So they follow the weather patterns, and it's typically around Halloween when they peak. It's typically highs in the 60s and some sunshine. They just swarm the house. It is incredible, but we are kind of used to it. We fill up the vacuum with them. It is wild. Diana Peine, my stepmom, I don't like those bugs. No, indeed. Someone commented yesterday that one of them got into the air fryer without them knowing it, adding a little extra flavor. And Perry Porter, yes, those stink bugs are everywhere. I opened my toolbox in my truck, and there were lots of them. Yeah, I sat down, moved a little blanket right here. It was under a blanket. I mean, they are everywhere. But I don't know what purpose they serve. And my mom, Laura Young, popping in from across the woods, over the hills, through the creek we go. Drop the stink bug in soapy water, and it kills them. Then put it down the toilet. There you go. That I usually don't go that full soap method. I just put it down the toilet, or I throw them outside. But there we go. That is that. So how many days until? We've got average highs in the 60s in about 17 days. We might get into the 60s next Thursday, cold front Tuesday, Wednesday next week. We'll see that with the weather model data here in just a second. And then the countdown continues, our time change in just 31 days. That's November 2nd, sunset 5:42. Average first flurries, 44 days. Thanksgiving, 56 days. I guess we need to start preparing for Thanksgiving. All right, here's the weather history. So this is kind of interesting. They're all in the 1800s. So in 1858, the only hurricane to impact Florida struck San Diego Bay. 2 researchers with NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, Michael Chenoweth and Christopher Landsea. What an appropriate name to be a researcher with the ocean. Christopher Landsea reconstructed the path of the storm using accounts from newspapers of the high winds. 1893, the village, all right, bear with me here. I'm going to try to pronounce this. The village of Caminadaville, Louisiana, was destroyed by a massive hurricane. Caminadaville was a vibrant fishing community in the late 19th century located on Cheniere, Caminada, adjacent to Grand Isle in coastal Jefferson Parish in Louisiana. It took 5 days for the news of this devastating hurricane to reach New Orleans. 1894, a year later, it was likely an EF3 tornado, ripped apart several blocks in Little Rock, Arkansas, went through downtown, went through the Weather Bureau, which is the National Weather Service office there, providing a rare look at how barometric pressure behaves in a tornado. The office's instrument shelter was blown away, windows shattered, debris from the upper floor of a nearby building showered down on the observer's office. In 1898, a hurricane striking the Georgia coast washed away Campbell Island. Jekyll Island had a storm surge of 19 feet. It's estimated that this storm was a Category 3 or 4 hurricane with winds at around 130 miles per hour. So there you go. All in the 1800s is our weather history for today. So now we learn something every day. And I learn it for you. I don't know this stuff. I just gather it from sources. So we've got good morning with the Bliss Cup, by the way. Oh, here we got a train cruising across the tracks. Let me see if I can bring this up. And then we'll get to your forecast, I promise. Oh, it moved. The camera moved, but we had a train going through. All right, let's bring back the forecast. So Perry says, I took my little dogs to the Borden Park, and the hazelnuts were everywhere. And I've seen tons of acorns dropping constantly. At least the deer have plenty to eat. Yeah, so I don't know how that will affect hunting season. I'm not sure if it will, because the deer will have plenty to eat. It is an acorn crop season. I don't know what causes that. It seems to cycle. Also, what seems to cycle is the pine cone season. Seems like we've got a lot of pine cones this year. Again, just kind of on a cycle that I've seen living out in the woods. Hey, it's your weather joke time. And these are all about October here, guys. Feel free to rate these. It will not offend me if you give it a 2 out of 10. But why does everyone like October so much? And a lot of people do. A lot of people's favorite month. Because everyone falls in love with it. Why is October such a chill month? Because it doesn't sweat the fall stuff. Those are not the best. And these are stupid weather jokes. They're not good weather jokes. What ailments do dads get in October? They get rakes and pains. Get it? Rake and leaves? And that is true. We're going to be, my dad and I are going to be out in these woods on Saturday, and we will be chopping wood out there, and we will be having our own aches and pains. Hopefully not running into a swarm of ground hornets, yellow jackets like last time. I talked about this last time where he passed out and had to go to the emergency room. But all is good now. So we're going to try to avoid that. When is persimmon season? I think it's pretty much right now. And of course, you open the persimmons up, then you can see if there's a spoon in there or a knife. And that's one of the folklores about predicting the upcoming winter season. But I believe it's right now. And then we don't have many persimmons in our woods. I wish we did. All right, we've got the allergy report, moderate from here on out until we get a frost, and then we'll get rid of it. Today's forecast summary, 85 degrees, sunshine, low humidity, light breeze, almost no wind out there here today. Sunset at 7:23, and our forecast tonight, 62 degrees, clear and cool. And our sun up tomorrow morning at 7:40. Our sunsets are now at 7:22. So our normal high is 76. So we're at 85. So we're almost 10 degrees above normal. Kind of a dry warmth, though. And Lillian, I need to share your joke that you commented yesterday. I need to remind myself of that. But I appreciate you. I appreciate the support. They weren't horrible today. All right, 60s out the door tomorrow morning for your Friday, October the 3rd, 70s midday, 85 for that afternoon high. Our 7-day forecast, sunny skies roll on here for us for the rest of this week. Really no change to the temperatures. I think Monday will stay dry for most of us. That front starts to move in Tuesday into Wednesday. That'll give us a decent chance of some scattered showers. Notice our temperature is starting to drop. 70s for Tuesday, lower 70s perhaps Wednesday. The front will move south of us, I think, by Wednesday afternoon. And then we're looking at maybe 60s for highs Thursday and lows in the 40s Thursday night. So our first better taste of fall there for late next week. And if we do get down to the 60s, maybe even some lower 60s late next week, that would be, again, probably the coolest since early May, about 150 days ago. So if you're wanting that fall feel, that sweater weather, the flannel weather, the flannels are getting sad up in my closet. They're wanting to break out. So maybe by then we'll see that. And Sarah Humphreys says it's been a really rough allergy season. Come on, first frost. It has been. Of course, all these dry days, obviously dust flies when it's dry, and we don't have rain to hold down the dust and the pollen and everything like that. So I would agree with you, Sarah. It has been pretty rough with the pollen. All right, it is now time to bring up that weather model data here at 10:22. We're actually 2 minutes later than normal, which is weird. The weather's completely quiet. We're lagging a little bit on me there. There we go. All right, Starlink. Must have been between satellites here with the good old Starlink. All right. We're testing it out hardcore here. All right. We are chugging on a lot of data with this program. All right. Here is the radar and satellite. You can see it is completely quiet. I mean, this is about as quiet as it gets, coast to coast, border to border, throughout the continental United States. And just to show you how quiet it is, you don't see this all that often from the Storm Prediction Center. The Storm Prediction Center is a division of the National Weather Service out of Norman, Oklahoma, and their job is to look where severe weather might happen. There is no risk of severe weather. It is 0 out of 5 for today. And we look at the day 2. There's 1 out of 5 out in the Rockies. And then day 3, severe weather. This would be what, Saturday, I guess. You got 1 out of 5 up in the northern plains. So again, just showing you how quiet things are. Now, the Climate Prediction Center, the CPC, and I guess, since we're starting, the only thing we have to talk about is the long range forecast because it's nice for the rest of this week. That means we are moving into good old been on a limb summit. So this 6 to 10 day outlook shows above normal chances of above normal temperatures. Now, I think we're going to start to see this change because late next week, again, I think we'll start to trend cooler. So, yes, we've got warm 80s. My daughter's like, can you cool it down? She's walking around IU. She wants some cooler weather. But once we make that change, it's hard to come back sometimes. And sometimes we wish for the warmer weather to return. So are you like Keith Hennessy here saying it's better than this? Keith Hennessy commenting earlier that our warm weather is better than that. What is your opinion on that? All right, let's look at the 8 to 14 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. Might just take a second to load, and it's kind of about average. There's no huge red or anything like that. A little cooler than normal out west, a little warmer than normal over much of the south. So with that said, let's go ahead and bring up the weather model data, future radar, as we like to call it. And I want to show you one thing. If you wanted to go like raindrop chasing today, there is like a slight chance. Let's see if it even pops up. There was like maybe a blip out in like Western Kentucky, but I don't even see that popping up on the high resolution rapid refresh weather model. So nothing on that. Maybe the NAM 3 kilometer. Let's see if we got anything on this one. All right, so it's got nothing. There was like a little blip earlier in west. Oh, there it is. You had to get out the microscope. So there you go. Over towards Madisonville, Western Kentucky. There's maybe a raindrop chance. That's like the closest. So again, we're dry. Let's bring up the GFS weather model. Let's look ahead to first the rain chances, that our next rain chances, and then we're going to be looking at the cool down. So first, the rain chances. Speaking of allergies, we'll go to Monday. And Monday is what? Monday is the 6th. So now we're jumping to Monday. Rain is south. We are waiting for this front to the north. Notice this right here. That is a cold front. And that's what we're going to be waiting on for Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe. So as we jump ahead here and start to go into our Tuesday, there you see that front becoming a little more organized. Let me tilt the map here a little bit. So now we're going into Tuesday afternoon. The main front still off to the north, but we start to bring in some moisture. We'll have a little more humidity early next week. Ahead of fronts, you get a south breeze. It starts to gather moisture, and so we'll feel a little more humidity early next week. So I've got about a 30 or 40% chance of a shower or thunderstorm Tuesday. The timing on this right now, we're going into the overnight into Wednesday morning. So here's Wednesday morning, some scattered showers with that. Now we're going to Wednesday afternoon. And by Wednesday afternoon, that front is starting to move off to the southeast. So that's our best rain chance right there. Now, I talk about this quite a bit. Really, the easiest way for all of us to see a air mass change, so you go from kind of what we have now to something different, is a big moisture drop. So we're looking at a big contrast in the dew points, and that's what we see on this map. So the green would be the humidity, and the red is the dry air dropping down from Canada. And this is some really dry air. And in fact, some of the lowest dew points I've seen since likely early May, and maybe some of the coolest temperatures since early May as well. So what does that mean here for us? Let's watch this dry air punch in. This is looking at Wednesday evening, shoving the more humid air that we have early next week off to the south. So that's dry air, yes. But what does that correlate to as far as temperatures? Let's bring up the temperature map. And it means we got the blue coming in. Let me get rid of the tropical. We don't need that on there anymore. All right, so you can tell there is a big change here. Canada winning the battle here, dropping in some cool Canadian air. A little autumn blast, perhaps, mid next week. So let's look at the details. Let's query the map. Let me go back here to Wednesday afternoon. So Wednesday is going to be our October the 8th. Here. Got some weird colors there. We got some bad data. All right, so this is the 8th. All right, thanks for bearing with me. Here we go. So this shows 5 p.m. next Wednesday. So probably 70s out ahead of the front, maybe. Hey, especially if you're in central Indiana. Shout out to my brother, my sister, my dad, my stepmom up there, and my other family. You might be rather cool here. This guys is next Wednesday. Cold front moving through. All right, let's go to Wednesday night. Look at the blue air taking over. What does that blue mean? What does it mean? I don't think it's going to get this chilly. I think we'll probably see maybe some 40s Wednesday night. But hey, it's kind of the first time we've seen these numbers on the weather models. And again, the GFS sometimes overdoes it on some of the raw mapping. But hey, decent cold front next Wednesday. So that's Thursday morning. That is our October the 9th. Might need those warmer jackets late next week. Let's go into our Thursday afternoon. This is at 5 p.m. Let me go back to 2 p.m. So it's showing 60s. I've got highs in the 60s in my forecast for next Thursday. So there you go. There's the chance of some sweater weather. I will say the European weather model is on board with this as well, with highs in the 60s for next Thursday and maybe some lows in the 40s. So that is the weather changes that is on our headlines for next week. So pretty good stout Canadian front dropping in next week. So that's Thursday. Let's go into Friday morning next week. It's a little over a week away here. This is at 5 to 8 a.m. time frame. It's showing 40s. Oops.